As we mentioned earlier in the show, the USDA prospective planting report came out, and about the same time, those market prices, especially corn, started sliding downward. We're going to take a look now at what really caused this slide down with an ag consultant. He gives advice and also finds out what we should be looking at as we move forward. There was a run-up in prices for corn, for instance, but then right before the Easter weekend hit, the prices took a tumble. And Doug Simon's joining us from Agriculture Risk Consulting, and he's on the phone. So, Doug, what exactly put the downward pressure on those prices, do you think?
We basically found another 400 million bushels of corn, relative to what the market expected. And in our last, USDA, the World Ag Supply and Demand reports, that, we were kind of thinking all along here that corn carryout could be in the 650 million bushel range. So finding an additional 400 relative to what they thought ending carryout would be at that 650 was a pretty substantial number and pretty big game changer.
Going back to that planting report, any surprises for you? For instance, I'm looking at the Milo in Nebraska. It's getting a jump in acres, a pretty significant one.
Milo had really dropped off the last several years with the profitability of corn and with the extremely dry conditions and lack of subsoil moisture. There's some interest in planting more Milo this year. But when you look at those corn acres, they're about what the analysts had expected going into the report, but we'd actually had numbers, people had thrown out numbers almost up to 100 million acres in earlier in the year. And so those high numbers didn't really, pan out. And then there's also likely to maybe be a little more shift out of some corn acres into some soybean acres because it's pretty wet in the eastern corn belt. The soybean acre number actually came in about 1 million acres less than expectations. So that would have been the one thing that would have been supportive in the report.
And now that you see how prices are reacting here, any thoughts moving forward?
Last year at this time, we had that same scenario where they were projecting 97 million acres and they were projecting a 164 bushel yield and projecting that carryouts were going to go substantially and corn prices could fall down to $450 range, and that's exactly what everybody's talking about again this year. Biggest impact is really going to be what's the spring and summer weather how's that going to turn out? I mean, it's a possibility if you have really ideal weather. It seems pretty remote, but it's certainly possible. It seems unlikely, but it's certainly possible. So you have to say, okay, what happens if corn goes to $4, corn goes to $8? You have to decide how much you want to sell. You've got crop insurance to back it up. You have to put all those things together and come up with a strategy and how much I want to sell. Looking
back to last July, corn, for instance, was hitting $8.50. Do you think that could happen again here?
To see corn go back to $8.50, you're going to have to see massive drought. It doesn't necessarily need to be as hot and dry as it was last year because we don't have the subsoil base that we've got out here that we had last year, but it would have to be more hot weather and more, dry weather to push us back up there.
Thank you, Doug, for your time. And of course, if you do have questions, you can always visit NTV's Grow at Nebraska.tv. Our very own Kent Boughton will bring you your grow forecast. Plus, we have pictures you sent in right here for the show. It's all coming up after the break.
It's always, I think, one of the strongest organizations we have and maybe one of the most underrated. We definitely have the hands-on training and ability to groom our future generations, and we're providing a great basis for leadership and abilities for future years. So we're really a strong supporter of the Ag program and the FFA, and definitely will always have those strong ties.